Hey, welcome to Wolf's Watch. I'm Wolf. Thanks for joining the conversation. This is 21st Century Television, right? Live and interactive. Your comments are live. Love talking with you. Love hearing your questions, hearing your comments. We can have live debate. That's the whole point. And today is President's Day. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Now, the headline that got you to watch this was "You're not going to believe this caused a massive shift in shipping," right? Well, hopefully, or perhaps you just enjoy hearing what we've got. We're providing good content. Here's we're going to tell you that we're going to share something today and talk briefly about something that just had a fundamental shift in how we ship stuff, how stuff gets to you, how we move goods in mass quantities. And when I saw this, my first thought was, it's just unbelievable. You got to be kidding me. This is where it started. This is how this is what caused this big shift. Hold that thought. I want to talk about President's Day first. This is a national holiday in the United States, and it is commonly called President's Day. Here's the thing with it. It's not President's Day. The official holiday is Washington's birthday, which is actually on the 22nd. Today's the 21st of February. It's actually on the 22nd of February, 1732. So it's 290 years ago. George Washington was born. It's celebrated on the third Monday as part of the standardization for federal holidays. So it creates a 3-day weekend. So that was, your good legislators were looking out for you in Washington, and they wanted to create as many 3-day weekends, holiday weekends as possible. So they standardized all of the holidays to be to fall on a Monday, with the exception of 4th of July, which floats. But it was part of what they did standardize to be on a Monday. And it's still officially Washington's birthday. Where it became President's Day was through marketing. A lot of companies run sales, and they call it President's Day sale, which has led to people becoming used to hearing President's Day, and the common misconception that this is a celebration of Lincoln and Washington, because Lincoln's birthday was on the 12th of February. It's not celebrated as a national holiday. It's just Washington's birthday on the third Monday of February. Also, a misconception that it's all presidents' birthdays are being celebrated now. And what does that do? And this is relevant to your business, which is why I bring this up. What does that do? That dilutes the conversation, that dilutes the perception, that dilutes the paradigm shift that George Washington's actions had on the people around him, on the country, on the world, by making it about a whole bunch of other things. It's mixing a whole bunch of things in. So there's no conversation on President's Day, on Washington's birthday, the celebration of Washington's birthday, about Washington. What was good? What do we not want to repeat? Every figure in history is like that. Every human being is like that, right? There's no perfect human being. And it takes away from that. Because what is President's Day about? It's become just a day off for a lot of people. Not everybody, right? Government employees, absolutely, creates a day off for them. Long weekend. For a lot of people, they're still working. And some are off, some have a paid holiday. But what could we learn from George Washington if this were recognized as George Washington's birthday, as it is, which is the whole point of the holiday, rather than this is President's Day. It's everything mixed in. Here's how this is relevant to your business. When you are not focused, when you are not specific in communications, it creates problems. Let's talk marketing. That's how the whole President's Day myth got started. Whole President's Day misperception got started. It was by constant marketing for President's Day sales, articles in media about President's Day rather than Washington's birthday. That led to a different perception in the marketplace. Do you want that to happen to your business, to what you offer in the marketplace? If you're not talking specifically about your product, your service, how that affects people's lives, if you're not talking specifically to a well-defined customer, a well-defined ideal client, that message is going to be radically diluted. Because people are going, well, is that for me or is that not for me? Or that, am I, should this be? So you're going to have your sales folks talking to people that aren't good candidates, which wastes their time, and it wastes the prospective customers' time as well. They could be out talking to, to service providers that are a good fit for them. So it differentiates in the market. It makes a better connection, gives you a better return on advertising because it's a specific message that is specific to the person that is your ideal customer that you provide. And all that's just, ideal customer is just another way of saying, in a perfect world, who is the person that you provide the maximum value to? Market to that person. As that becomes effective, as revenue grows, right, to continue scaling your company, then market into another niche, right? Another well-defined client that you can serve, but don't try to be all things to everybody. It's just, as an entrepreneur, you know that. It's just a reminder. Something I thought about on Washington's birthday. It's a shame there's so much about Washington. And here's I wanted to share this with you. Hang on a second. Little show and tell, but just as a picture from this isn't working out as planned. As you probably know, I have a lot of that these days, right? So here's a picture of a young George Washington. A lot of times we see, the older gray hair founding father post. He's been through 2 wars. He's been through, being president of the Constitutional Convention. He's been in politics, and that'll age anybody, right? It ages rapidly. You watch how rapidly politicians and warfighters age because of the stress, the things that they experience. But here's a picture of him as a strapping young lad, as my family would have said. Heard a lot of that growing up. But he was like 6'4". So there's a lot that was unusual, which is very unusual, especially for that time. 250 years ago, to see someone that was that height was way more unusual than it is today. But I just wanted to share that here's a little bit different perspective on him. We lose that conversation because it's muddled by the misperception that this is President's Day, and it's not. It's holiday celebrating Washington's birthday. Now, back to to where we started. The thing that changed everything in transportation and how stuff gets to you spawned many other industries as a result is on this day in 1804, the first steam locomotive hauled goods from a point A to point B, and in this case, from a factory to a wharf for shipment in Wales, South Wales, more specifically in the United Kingdom. And this was the first. And I'm going to show you what this thing looked like, and that was just made me go, really? Talk about humble beginnings. So this was, let's see, we were talking about 218 years ago, the first time goods and people were hauled by a steam locomotive on a rail line. Now they'd use rail lines, we're pulling the cargo cars with horses, pulling people with horses along rails, and they had been used in mines, with people power and in other ways. But to have a locomotive like this is the first time this is done, and they hauled 10 tons of iron and 70 men on this, and they had 5 cars attached to it. Now today, in some areas, like right now through the desert, you'll see freight trains that are a mile long, hauling goods. To this day, it is the most cost-efficient way to move a large amount of goods across land. It's just stupendous. And here's where it started, with a gizmo that looked like this. And I want to play this brief video for you so you can see how clunky this was. And let's see, get the big earphones on. Can you hear that? Nope, don't have the sound on with it. But here, look at this thing. It just looks like a giant an oversized 50-gallon drum with a bunch of moving parts attached to it in order to create the steam engine. It only went 6 miles an hour at the time it was launched, and this wasn't even the version that became commercially viable. So they on its maiden voyage, this traveled. Hang on a second. Let me close that out for you. This traveled, the distance, took the stuff, but on the way back with the 5 empty cars, it broke down. It vibrated so much that one of the bolts came loose and on the boiler, which is extremely dangerous. So they had to stop and repair that, and then finish the trip the next day. Now, it took another 3-4 years for that to become commercially viable. Lesson for you as an entrepreneur. The inventor is not, and quite often not, almost rarely could be said, the one that really commercializes their invention. It happens, but it's not always the case. So it is an entrepreneur, and you likely know this already, right? It's not about being the inventor, it's the application of it. So this needed to be perfected. This is also a second lesson for you as an entrepreneur, the persistence. And you know that one of the key factors for success as an entrepreneur is tenacity and persistence, not giving up. So in this case, it took a couple, 3-4 years to work out the bugs, as we would say today, right? To have something that functioned that would be commercially viable. So that original design ended up becoming just an engine. It was used as an engine to run a factory process. So it didn't keep moving on the rail lines. It got reassigned to going, okay, it develops good power. It's not working so well for this. We'll put it over here. So a third lesson there, adaptability. When something's not working in one venue, can you shift perspective and see, what, if we put that over here, that's going to work. If it's not connecting with this market, well, maybe there's a slight change in how the market's defined that it does connect with, or ends up being used for something completely different. In this case, something that was designed for transportation ended up being used as an engine to run a factory process. That's a big shift. Those are the kinds of innovations that make entrepreneurs successful. So just some quick thoughts, on that. I was just fascinated by how that looked and how far we've come. It's been so, all these, 2 centuries now of 239, is it 239 years of locomotives, of engines, of trains that all started with a very humble device. And just like your business started as something very humble, perhaps, perhaps a card table in a kitchen, or doing something out of your garage, or some spare square footage in somebody else's warehouse space that you sublet in order to start out. And now you've got a going concern. Kind of like Washington did in his leadership role in the creation of the United States of America, right? Just being a celebration of Washington's birthday today. So thanks for being part of Wolf's Watch. Smash that like button. Put your comments in. We want to hear from you and continue the dialogue. This is a conversation. So again, thanks for being part of Wolf's Watch, and I will see you on the trail.